Vigil Day, including apples, potato pancakes, and soul cakes. The word Halloween, or Samhain, is of Christian origin. The verb equivalent to All Hallows Eve is attested in Old English. The word Halloween comes from the Scottish form of All Hallows Eve, the evening before All Hallows Day. Even is the Scots term for eve or evening and is contracted to een. All Hallows Een became Halloween. History, Christian origins and historic customs. Halloween is thought to have influences from Christian beliefs and practices. The English word Halloween comes from All Hallows Eve, being the evening before the Christian holy days of All Hallows Day, All Saints' Day, the 1st of November, and All Souls' Day on the 2nd of November. Since the time of the early church, major feasts of Christianity, such as Christmas, Easter, and Pentecost, had vigils that began the night before, as did the Feast of All Hallows. These 3 days are collectively called All Hallowtide, and are a time when Western Christians honor all saints and pray for recently departed souls who have yet to reach heaven. Commemorations of All Saints and Martyrs were held by several churches on various dates, mostly in springtime. In 4th century Rome, an Decide was held on the 13th May, and on the 13th May 609, Pope Boniface IX rededicated the Pantheon in Rome to Saint Mary and all martyrs. This was the date of the Moria, an ancient Roman festival of the dead. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III founded an oratory in St. Peter's for the relics of the holy apostles and of all saints, martyrs, and confessors. Some sources say he was Christians in mainland Europe, especially in France, believed that once a year on Halloween, the dead of the churchyard rose for one wild hideous carnival known as the Danse Macabre, which was often depicted in church decoration. Christopher Almond and Rosamund McKitterick write in the New Cambridge Medieval History that the Danse Macabre urged Christians not to forget the end of all earthly things. The Danse Macabre was sometimes enacted in European village pageants and corked masque, with people dressing up as corpses from various strata of society, and this may be the origin of Halloween costume parties. In Britain, these customs came under attack during the Reformation, as Protestants paraded purgatory as a popish doctrine incompatible with the Calvinist doctrine of predestination. State-sanctioned ceremonies associated with the intercession of saints and prayer for souls in purgatory were abolished during the Elizabethan Reform, though All Hallows Day remained in the English liturgical calendar to commemorate saints as godly human beings. For some nonconformist Protestants, the theology of All Hallows Eve was redefined. Souls cannot be journeying from purgatory on their way to heaven, as Catholics frequently believe and assert. Mark Donnelly, a professor of medieval archaeology, and historian Daniel Deal write that barns and homes were blessed to protect people and livestock from the effect of witches, who were believed to accompany the malignant spirits as they traveled the earth. After 1605, Hallowtide was eclipsed in England by Guy Fawkes Night, 5th of November, which appropriated some of its customs. In England, the ending of official ceremonies related to the intercession of saints led to the development of new, unofficial Hallowtide customs. In 18th and 19th century rural Lancashire, Catholic families gathered on hills on the night of All Hallows Eve. One held a bunch of burning straw and a pitchfork while the rest knelt around him, praying for the souls of relatives and friends until the flames went out. This was known as TINGLY. There was a similar custom in Hertfordshire and the lighting of tyndal fires in Derbyshire. Some suggested these tyndals were originally lit to guide the poor souls back to earth. In Scotland and Ireland, old All Hallowtide customs that were at odds with Reformed teaching were not suppressed, as they were important to the life cycle and rites of passage of local communities, and curbing them would have been difficult. In parts of Italy until the 15th century, families left a meal out for the ghosts of relatives before leaving for church services. In 19th century Italy, churches staged theatrical reenactments of scenes from the lives of the saints on All Hallows Day, with participants represented by realistic wax figures. In 1823, the graveyard of Holy Spirit Hospital in Rome presented a scene in which bodies of those who recently died were arrayed round a wax statue of an angel pointed upwards towards heaven. The same country, parish priests went house to house, asking for small gifts of food which they shared among themselves throughout the night. In Spain, they continued to bake special pastries called bones of the holy, Spanish huesos de santo, and set them on the graves. At cemeteries in Spain and France, as well as in Latin America, priests lead Christian processions and services during All Hallowtide, after which people keep an all-night vigil. In 19th century San Sebastian, there was a procession through the city cemetery at All Hallowtide, an event that drew beggars who appealed to the tender recollections of once deceased relations and friends for sympathy. Gaelic folk influence. Today's Halloween customs are thought to have been influenced by folk customs and beliefs from the Celtic-speaking countries, some of which are believed to have pagan roots. Jack Santino, a folklorist, writes that there was throughout Ireland an uneasy truce existing between customs and beliefs associated with Christianity and those associated with religions that were Irish before Christianity arrived. The origins of Halloween customs are typically linked to the Gaelic festival Samhain. feast seems to have ancient origins and is found in many cultures. In 19th century Ireland, the candles were billets and prayers formerly offered for the souls of the dead. After this, the eating, drinking, and games would begin. Throughout Ireland and Britain, especially in the Celtic-speaking regions, the household festivities included divination rituals and games intended to foretell one's future, especially regarding death and marriage. Apples and nuts were often used, and customs included apple popping, nut roasting, scrying or mirror gazing, pouring molten lead or egg whites into water, dream interpretation, and others. Special bonfires were lit, and there were rituals involving them. Their flames, smoke, and ashes were deemed to have protective and cleansing powers. In some places, torches lit from the bonfire were carried sunwise around homes and fields to protect them. It is suggested the fires were a kind of imitative or sympathetic magic from at least the 16th century. The festival included mumming and guising in Ireland, Scotland, the Isle of Man, and Wales. This involved people going house to house in costume or in disguise, usually reciting verses or songs in exchange for food. It may have originally been a tradition whereby people impersonated the OC or the souls of the dead and received offerings on their behalf, similar to souling. Impersonating these beings or wearing a disguise was also believed to protect oneself from them. In parts of southern Ireland, the guises included a hobby horse. A man dressed as Lear Bun, white mare, led youths house to house reciting verses, some of which had pagan overtones, in exchange for food. If the household donated food, they could expect good fortune from the Mug Ola. Not doing so would bring misfortune. In Scotland, youths went house to house with masked, painted or blackened faces, often threatening to do mischief if they were not welcomed. F. Marianne McNeill suggests the ancient festival included people in costume representing the spirits, and that faces were marked or blackened with ashes from the sacred bonfire. In parts of Wales, men went about dressed as fearsome beings called Gwarhod. In the late 19th and early 20th century, young people in Glamorgan and Orkney cross-dressed. Elsewhere in Europe, mumming was part of other festivals, but in the Celtic-speaking regions it was particularly appropriate to a night upon which supernatural beings were said to be abroad and could be imitated or warded off by human wanderers. From at least the 18th century, imitating malignant spirits led to playing pranks in Ireland and the Scottish Islands. Wearing costumes and playing pranks at Halloween did not spread to England until the 20th century. Pranksters used to allot out turnips or mangle wurzels as lanterns, often carved with grotesque faces. By those who made them, the lanterns were variously said to represent the spirits or used to ward off evil spirits. They were common in parts of Ireland and the Scottish Highlands in the 19th century, as well as in Somerset. See Punky Night. In the 20th century, they spread to other parts of Britain and became generally known as jack-o'-lanterns. Let's skip to the trick-or-treating part. Trick-or-treating is a customary celebration for children on Halloween. Children go in costume from house to house, asking for treats such as candy or sometimes money, with the question, trick or treat. The word trick implies a threat to perform mischief on the homeowners or the property if no treat is given. The practice is said to have roots in the medieval practice of mumming, which is closely related to souling. John Pym wrote that many of the feast days associated with the presentation of mumming bliss were celebrated by the Christian Church. These feast days included All Hallows Eve, Christmas, Twelfth Night, and Shrove Tuesday. Mumming, practiced in Germany, Scandinavia, and other parts of Europe, involved masked persons in fancy dress who paraded the streets and entered houses to dance or play dice in silence. In England, from the medieval period up until the 1930s, people practiced the Christian custom of souling on Halloween, which involved groups of soulers, both Protestant and Catholic, going from parish to parish, begging the rich for soul cakes in exchange for praying for the souls of their givers and their friends. In the Philippines, the practice of souling is called Pangangaluluva. In this practice, an All Hallows Eve among children in rural areas. People drape themselves in white cloths to represent souls and then visit houses where they sing a return for praise and sweets. perception as being more safe than going door to door, a point that resonates well with parents, as well as the fact that it solves the rural conundrum in which homes are built a half-mile apart. Okay, costumes. Halloween costumes were traditionally modeled after figures such as vampires, ghosts, skeletons, scary-looking witches, and devils. Over time, the costume selection extended to include popular characters from fiction, celebrities, and generic soon, clay that they would die soon, perhaps within the year, water that they would emigrate, rosary beads that they would take holy orders, become a nun, priest, monk, etc. A coin that they would become rich, a bean that they would be poor. The game features prominently in the James Joyce short story Clay. In Ireland and Scotland, items would be hidden in food, usually a cake, bomb, brick, granachan, jam, or coal cannon, and portions of it served out at random. A person's future would be foretold by the item they happen to find. For example, a ring meant marriage and a coin meant wealth. Up until the 19th century, the Halloween bonfires were also used for divination in parts of Scotland, Wales, and Brittany. When the fire died down, a ring of stones would be laid in the ashes, one for each person. In the morning, if any stone was mislaid, it was said that the person it represented would not live out the year. Telling ghost stories, listening to Halloween-themed songs, and watching horror films are common fixtures of Halloween parties. Episodes of television series and Halloween-themed specials, with the specials usually aimed at the children, are commonly aired on or before Halloween, while new horror films are often released before Halloween to take advantage of the holiday. Alright, I think we'll call it, I don't know what the expression is, call it cut. We'll make a cut. I hope this was relaxing for you. For me it was pretty interesting. I don't know if you've listened, if you could understand anything, but reading it was pretty interesting. And yeah. Tell me if you went